Welcome to Sustainability Now, a COP29 special where we talk to key leaders shaping the future of sustainability. I'm your host, Hamera Chaudhry, and today we're speaking to Teymur Huseynov, the Group Strategy Management Department Director of PASHA Holding, the official COP29 Impact Partner. We'll be exploring how the company is advancing sustainability efforts in Azerbaijan, its involvement with COP29, and what it means to be a part of Azerbaijan's National Pledge Programme. Teymur, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Let's begin with PASHA Holdings' role as impact partner at COP29. It's a very big responsibility. Could you explain what it means to be an impact partner at COP29?
Yes, thank you very much for that question, Humera. So, PASHA Holding is one of the key players in the economy of Azerbaijan. We are present in almost all of the major non-oil and gas sectors of the economy, a choice which was made consciously, by the way, by our founders, given the country's already significant dependence on hydrocarbon production and exports. We see our role from the prism of these sectors that we are present in. We have a very prominent place in the country's financial services industry, for instance, and financial institutions will be the key intermediaries in diverting financing, in channeling financing for the transition efforts in the country. Insurance companies will have to insure the climate risks that are becoming more and more topical, including in this country. We are very large player in the real estate business. So for us, for instance, the energy efficiency in the buildings, in the built environment is very important. We are also investors in the critical parts of the energy transition. So we are starting to invest in the renewable energy sector, for instance, which will mean that we will have to understand very well the discussions that are happening at the intergovernmental level, at the COP29, as well as on the corporate side, the technological development, etc., so that we can learn from those and borrow those in order to ensure a more balanced transition in the country's energy system. So overall, because of its role and size and understanding of our responsibility as contributors to that transition, we are here as impact partners.
Teymur, what are the main objectives you hope to achieve by taking on this role?
We would like to understand the global best practice better across the whole renewable energy value chain, for instance, as well as how financial institutions globally are planning to contribute further to the efforts of transitioning the global energy balance from hydrocarbons to renewable sources. So these are really the two main objectives. Of course, at the state level, we would be very interested to understand the dynamics of the debate, the discussion about how the developed world is going to help the developing world, specifically with funds that are really required to enable the mitigation and adaptation in COP parlance. Those are the three issues. Of course, there's a lot of technological developments that are taking place on the corporate side. If you look at the energy industry, for instance, talking to our peers at the global stage about these developments, be it the solar or wind or battery storage or the electric vehicle construction, development. We would be, as a group, very keen to understand these technological advancements better. And COP is a great opportunity, I think, not only for PASHA Holding, but for any Azerbaijani company to utilize and to speak to those global peers. Indeed, this is the largest global event that Azerbaijan is hosting and is likely to host for the foreseeable future. So we are really keen to take an active part at COP29.
You mentioned global best practice. How does being part of COP29's Green Zone alongside other global businesses support PASHA Holdings' sustainability efforts and engagement within the international community?
So Green Zone is a place where there's a corporate presence, but also you have a presence of the consultants, global consulting companies, who are holding various types of panel discussions on different topics. So to be part of those discussions, to participate in those discussions, to listen to corporates who have already achieved significant breakthroughs in their sustainability journeys will be very important for us to understand. We are just starting to think about our sustainability strategy across different verticals in the sectors that we are present in. There will have to be different approaches, varying approaches across these sectors, across all scopes, the so-called scopes 1, 2, and 3. When you look at the real economy, for instance, agriculture, that we are very much present in, or industry, the decarbonization, for instance, of the steel production, or on the financial services side, we will have to understand the steps that we will need to take in each of these sectors going forward. So those discussions for us will be very useful, I believe.
And a lot to absorb there as well. In what ways do you hope to use this platform for your ongoing projects, sustainability projects, and the initiatives that you just mentioned?
Of course, on the financial services side, we would like to strengthen the relationships with international financial institutions to be able to get access to the funds that are being allocated by the largest global financial players for especially the developing markets, of which Azerbaijan is one. I think it is a very important objective for our financial services industry players. On the real economy side, be it the built environment or the agriculture industry or the renewable energy sector, we are really gearing up to meeting our peers and to discuss with them the investments that they would be willing to bring to Azerbaijan, investments in any other country that PASHA as a group may be interested to participate, and of course technological understanding, the transfer of technology into Azerbaijan, where we could be a gateway for those foreign investors, are primarily the discussions that we are going to have.
Are there any countries that you already have an interest in that you're scoping out or that you would like to collaborate with?
It depends on the topic. I mean, if you ask me, yes, there are already countries. For instance, if we talk about the solar business, solar, for instance, is the only viable option in certain countries around the world, especially in Africa. There could be countries which we could go into, projects which have viable economics on a risk-adjusted basis. So those could be that could be an example of the discussions that we will have.
It's very interesting. Another interesting area is PASHA Holdings' involvement in the country's National Pledge Programme, which is designed to measure internal business potential to meet climate goals. Could you tell us a little bit more about this initiative?
Yeah, we will definitely be contributing to the National Pledge Program, which was announced by the COP presidency. We are also very much waiting for the central bank of the country to announce the amount of the contribution that the financial services industry players in Azerbaijan have to make by 2030. I think this will be a significant sum of money that the central bank will ask the banks first of all to make, and our banks, both PASHA Bank and Capital Bank, will be prominent contributors, I believe, to that program. Obviously, we as a group across all of our sectors of operations are waiting for the updated version of the nationally determined contributions, which is being finalized as we speak. And we will be really interested to understand the sectoral implications of the NDC and take the appropriate actions afterwards. These are of course, very ambitious goals that the countries are coming up with. But we have to understand the reality is that even if all the NDCs were executed 100%, the NDCs that we have today, we would still be far below the goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees. The updated version of the NDCs could take this risk a bit lower, but still not 1.5 degrees. So the reality is that the contribution by both the public as well as the private sector to mitigate the risks of climate change, as well as to help to the adaptation of communities, will be much larger. I mean, we are talking about a gap on an annual basis of $6 trillion at the moment, wow, which are unbelievable sums of money. And if you are talking about net zero by 2050, you are talking about tens of trillions of dollars, which is what we have to always keep in front of mind.
It's ambitious, but we have to start somewhere, don't we? How does this initiative help your company assess its ability to meet climate goals and shape future ESG, that's environmental, social and governance strategies?
We will be looking at our approach to sustainability and ESG across our sectors. We will have to be really careful about the steps we take. Of course, PASHA Holding as a group is a very big contributor to social goals. We have a very significant CSR programs, for instance. But when it comes to business, of course, we will have to be careful in order not to hurt our bottom line. Yeah, this is the reality. We have to take care of the shareholder return. And in order to be able to make money, actually, in order to be a sustainable business into the future, to be able to make those CSR contributions. If we don't make money, we won't be able to contribute to social projects in the country and in the region.
So I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into some of the consultation and training sessions that PASHA Holding has participated in relation to the National Pledge Programme. If you could describe maybe a couple of examples.
Sure, that's an important question. I mean, capacity building for us, especially given the novelty of the topic in the country as well as for PASHA Group, is something we have been very much conscious about. What we've done is we've had a series of events organized together with the UN Azerbaijan office, including for our employees, for the customers at the corporate level, in order to be able to explain what the discussion at the COP is about, what transition means, and what kind of implications this will have for companies, both on the real economy side as well as on the financial services side, and what kind of examples there are that companies in the peer groups have taken, both from the perspective of decarbonizing their business model, as well as ensuring proper risk management frameworks that incorporates the climate risks as well, and how reporting is happening in various jurisdictions around the world. So this has been, I believe, quite useful for us. We have also been in discussions with the Central Bank of Azerbaijan, which is the regulator of the banking and insurance sectors in the country. And there has been some consultation with the central bank about the taxonomy that the central bank is likely to release before the COP starts. And this is very important. It will lay down the playground, the framework for green investments in Azerbaijan. It will be important for all the market players to understand the taxonomy well. So we have also, of course, been having some internal discussions and workshops with the consultants internally for our various functions across the group, which has been very useful in terms of elevating the understanding of the issues that we are discussing today.
I'm sure it's ongoing as well because it's changing
Correct.
constantly, isn't it?
Correct.
Lastly, let's talk about PASHA Holdings' broader vision for sustainability, particularly in fostering collaboration through private and public partnerships. PASHA Holding has been instrumental in promoting these partnerships as a core part of Azerbaijan's green transformation and industry evolution. Could you share more about your approach to PPPs and how they're contributing to sustainable development in Azerbaijan?
PPPs are, of course, something that we will be looking at. Already, if you look at the solar projects that we are starting, they are in a sense PPPs, meaning that we have agreements with the energy regulator, renewable energy sector regulator, as well as the owner of the grid in the country, electricity grid, which is a state company, for transferring the electricity to be produced at our plants into the national grid. So these are long-term projects. It is important that the partnerships and the agreements are, that they are logical and make sense and future-proof. We are very much working closely with government institutions, including the Ministry of Energy, to understand how ready Azerbaijan is to absorb increasing capacity of renewable sources. So that work is ongoing. Of course, when we look at other countries, potentially the neighboring countries, we will be taking the similar approach. We may go into similar projects in, say, Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan or Turkey and other countries. And in all of these jurisdictions, we will be very careful about understanding the local regulations and ensuring that we have proper discussions and dialogue with the government institutions. But PPP as a concept in itself, for us as a group, is something new. PASHA Holding, if you look at it historically, I already mentioned, has consciously chose not to enter the oil and gas business, right, when it started. It also chose not to enter any government or state company-led projects.
Why is that?
Because we are a company which wanted to prove that it's possible to do business and be successful in the private business without a need to fall back on government contracts or without the need to fall back on the oil windfalls, to be honest. And I think we have proven that by the developed workforce that we have today, that we have been able to develop, as well as our investments into the technology side of things, both on the financial side as well as non-financial industry.
So you've also taken part in the 29 climate talks Road to COP29 series with the UN Azerbaijan delegation, with a strong focus on private and public partnerships. How are these discussions helping to drive collaboration on climate action and transformation?
Well, I think the cooperation with the UN is very important. The COP29 itself, the Conference of the Parties, are a UN-organized event. I think Azerbaijan, as part of the UN, is always adhering to UN decisions. We are very keen about this, and as a country which is trying to be neutral in the global political arena as well, collaboration with UN and being involved in UN frameworks, be it on the adaptation and mitigation side, be it on the carbon credit market side, is something Azerbaijan is very keenly involved in.
As COP29 brings together diverse stakeholders, how does PASHA Holding see its role in advancing partnerships that drive sustainable business practices and long-term impact for Azerbaijan?
Azerbaijan, as we spoke, the new version of the NDC is going to come. We, as a group that has a sizable role in the economy, we will be participating across a broad spectrum of activities that will contribute to this, to the achievement of the NDCs. Of course, the reality is that the transition, as it was mentioned in the last COP in Dubai, will have to take into account the circumstances and realities of each country. So the transition will have to be, as it said, equitable and just and balanced. Azerbaijan is a hydrocarbon producer. We are not shying away from this fact, and we are honest about the fact that this production and the exports of hydrocarbons and the revenues that we get as a country are important for the social stability and well-being of the citizens. So Azerbaijan is one of those countries, just like the UAE, the host of the last COP, that will probably adopt a more hybrid approach to transition, given the realities, as well as given, for instance, the role of the natural gas as an intermediate fuel in the transition. Natural gas being much more cleaner than oil, for instance, or coal, which is still very much predominant in many large and small countries around the world. And taking into consideration these realities, of course, this is the reality, but it doesn't mean that Azerbaijan will not be actually trying and making its best effort to ensure that it's diversifying its energy balance away from dependence on natural gas in power production, ensuring its natural gas export commitments to European countries are there in place, and also ensuring that there is more and more renewable production of electricity in the country and in the neighboring countries, so that we can supply that electricity to the European markets as well. So there are lots of areas that we can play in, including on methane emissions in the agro sector, which we are looking at very seriously. Methane being one of those very dangerous and very toxic gases, other than CO2. So that there are. I mean, our portfolio necessitates us to take a big role. We will be doing not the bare minimum just to get by. We will be taking proactive steps in order to ensure that we, as a group, are showcasing the best example for others in the country's economy as well. Of course, it's too much to ask for the small and medium-sized enterprises to be able to contribute in the same manner. And I think there's a role for us to play there as well in terms of helping those the SME segment, especially for our banks, in order to ensure there is capacity as well as there is incentivized financing, attractive financing for the SME segment to be able to decarbonize their businesses as well.
That's really important. That's another podcast, I feel. But before we end, you mentioned earlier carbon credits. I just wanted to touch on that. In what capacity is PASHA Holding participating in the carbon market?
We are not participants as of yet, but we will be interested to understand how the state institutions are thinking about the development of the local carbon market, which then could be plugged into the international carbon markets. The situation around the carbon market historically has been quite challenging, as you know, in terms of both measuring as well as verifying the projects that are claiming to produce the credits. But I already see a progress being made by the UN in terms of classification of the projects and the conditionalities around those projects that have to be basically satisfied in order for a project to be eligible to issue the credits. And that's very important development, given that historically a lot of the carbon credit projects have had secondary negative effects, including on the environment itself. We would be very conscious of not being part of any project that is not traceable and that cannot prove that this is really, on balance, beneficial for the environment and is verifiable. So we will be participating both as generators of those credits, as, for instance, renewable energy developers, as well as traders of those credits, for instance, when it comes to our banks and the investment company like PASHA Capital. Those could be effective intermediaries in the trading of those credits.
We look forward to hearing all about that. Teymur, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing PASHA Holdings' efforts as Impact Partner at COP29. You're clearly playing an important role in advancing sustainability in Azerbaijan and on the global stage. We look forward to seeing how your contributions unfold at COP29. And thank you to our viewers and our listeners for tuning into this special episode of Sustainability Now, a COP29 special. Stay tuned as we continue to cover the green transition and sustainability initiatives right here from Baku in the lead up and during COP29.